The Philadelphia Eagles are doubling down on their defensive scheme, bringing in the godfather of cover six, Vic Fangio, as the new defensive coordinator. I think they should have moved off this scheme, but if it's going to work, this is the guy to do it. We'll get into the hiring coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Eagles fans. I'm Louis DiBiase, host of the Locked On Eagles podcast, Eagles analyst also over at Bleacher Report. He's Gino Camilleri, scouting director, Eagles analyst at Bleacher Report, and my co-host. On today's edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast, we react to the news that Vic Fangio is back in Philadelphia, this time as the new defensive coordinator. We'll also discuss why this means now more than ever, General Manager Howie Roseman needs to invest in safeties and linebackers, and we're going to share, I think, our displeasure with the latest offensive coordinator candidates for head coach Nick Sirianni. We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Guys, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use our code in all lowercase, LockedOnNFL, for a first deposit match up to $100. So yeah, Gino, Vic Fangio, it took less than 24 hours after he got fired from the Miami Dolphins to be the Eagles' new defensive coordinator. And I wanted to move away from the cover six defense. You kind of talked about this on yesterday's show as well, that a lot of his disciples around the league are getting fired. But if it's going to work, it might as well be with this guy that has pretty much created this base scheme. Like, if anybody's going to run it well, it's going to be Fangio. So if you're going to double down on this defense, he's the right guy for the job.
I know he was just let go by the Miami Dolphins, but if we can step back in time for a second.
Yeah.
When Jonathan Gannon was interviewing for that Arizona job, if he had just communicated to Philadelphia that was happening,
right, Fangio's
you could have
DC.
That Vic Fangio is going to be the DC, and any of those hiccups that were to have partaken last year, this would be the off season to where you can go and kind of iron them out. To a degree now, Lou, you can still go ahead and do that. And I love the idea of bringing in Vic Fangio if there is going to be anybody out of that group that we had discussed. Ron Rivera. Sure. It's a good name, but like you said, it's Jeffrey Lurie's family friend. Wink Martindale, I think we know what Wink Martindale is at this current point in time. Vic Fangio, the thing about cover six is that if you get the personnel in there, big if you get the personnel in there to run it correctly, it has seen success in multiple different spots. In his time in Chicago, his time in Denver, even in Miami, they were still middle of the pack, which for us in Philadelphia after last year,
I'll take it.
You take that all day long. We'll see if the NFL truly has figured this out. But for the brand, Lou, another guy with the vowel at the end of his name. That's huge.
Right. It's
man.
Great for the brand. It's great for the Western New York Italian brand. He's not from Western New York, but he is an Italian, and it definitely works with this coaching staff. And yeah, there's some things I like about it. Fangio has actually had 4 top 3 scoring defenses since 2012. Mm-hmm. He's had 8 top 10 scoring defenses in that era as well. He's been a defensive coordinator, a head coach for over a decade. So he has the tenure, the veteran voice that we've kind of wanted for this defense over the last few years. So there's definitely some positives. Again, if you're going to keep running this scheme, he's the best guy to do it. And it's the one that you wanted last year before Jonathan Gannon completely screwed you over. So you could tell Philadelphia always wanted this because they jumped on him fast. You know, like, again, we were talking about, we did the show last night at like 9 o'clock at night, and we had just realized Fangio got fired. And then this morning it was like 8:30 and he got hired by the Birds. So not surprising at all. Just for me, I was looking personally to move away from this scheme. I know you have to take away the deep ball in the league right now. I know you can't, no defense is ever going to play the man coverage I want as consistently as I want it, or as much as often as, some teams in the past used to blitz. But just sometimes with this scheme, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of space given up over the middle in the flats. They run more 2 high shells than any defense. I just personally was looking to move away from that scheme. But again, if you're going to do it, this is the right guy.
And that's your cup of tea. And that's
it's just personal preference for me, at least.
I think that's what it really is as well. And I think there is an appreciation for it in the National Football League because it kind of has changed the identity of how some of these top quarterbacks have had to attack some defenses, where you're seeing the Patrick Mahomes check everything down. A lot of things are underneath because, like you had said, in a cover 6 defense, which, to break it down for those who are new to what a cover 6 defense is, the field is broken up into a quarter, another quarter, and half. So you got 2 quarters equals a half plus the half. That's your whole field. On the half side of the field, you are going to be running a variation of different quarter looks. So what that means is that you have this half field coverage. You got 4 guys. So anytime there's 3 over 1, so 3 wide receivers, you're going to have an advantage in the passing strength. So you'll have 4 defenders over 3. Right. If it's 3 over 2, so on and so forth. But with that, you have to have guys that can cover space defensively. You have to have linebackers. You have to have guys at safety that can eat up a ton of ground because, like you said, it is predicated on taking away space, where this cover 6 defense, it's going to give you space over the middle. But at the same time, if you have the guys that can take it away, you can utilize it and get some performances like the Justin Simmons of the world and the Eddie Jacksons, who have had high-level seasons within that cover 6 defense. We'll just see if they can get the appropriate guys in there to go and run it.
That's the thing, Gino. This defense isn't just for any personnel. And somebody tweeted at me after the hiring. It's like, do we have the right players for this scheme? And right now, in my opinion, they don't have the right players for any scheme. I mean, there's so much work to be done, but especially at the 2 positions that is very important for Fangio's defense. It really is safety and linebacker. And I was reading an awesome piece. It was called The Book of Fangio, and it just breaks down this defense to its bare bones. And one of the quotes I took away from it the most was, quote, "The safeties are the queen on Fangio's chessboard." And so, no, to answer that listener's question on Twitter, do the Eagles have the right guys for this defense currently? Absolutely not. And I think, Gino, Howie Roseman, who, again, has been bullish at times at investing a lot in safety and linebacker specifically, I think with Fangio now as the defensive coordinator, he has no choice but to bring in some legitimate players at those spots. Like, he can't just go with, oh, we'll sign another Zach Cunningham in August, or we'll bank on a CGJ being available right before the season. I don't think you can do that.
So where in this cover 6 defense, you have quarter, half. So the 2 guys on the back end, the safety and the deep corner, defending that quarter of the field, which would make up the half of the field. Those guys are going to have to cover less ground than the guy who is the backside safety or the backside corner, because the backside corner is going to be the guy that's going to be pressing at the line of scrimmage. He's going to be up in the face of usually what is a better wide receiver on the backside of these 3-by-1 sets. So 3 wide receivers to one side. Let's say you're Stephon Diggs to the other side. So you'll have Darius Slay. He's going to be bumping down, playing press. And that backside safety, he's responsible for anything that's those deep overs, those deep digs where they got picked apart so often this year, Lou. Like you said, they have to have somebody that can quite literally defend half of the field, because that's what the base of a cover 6 system is. One player I think that is going to truly benefit when they come back healthy, I think Sidney Brown really is built for this cover 6 type of defense.
Totally agree, Gino. His range is exactly what Fangio needs.
Like you said, queen on the chessboard, a guy who can make a play from anywhere to anywhere on that football field. When I think about that backside safety, I think about him, but you're going to have to improve guys like him when it comes to protecting the pass, being able to hold up in coverage for what might be 2.5 to 3 seconds. Because on the other side of the ball, you're going to get a lot more zone type of coverage, but on that more man heavy type of approach on that cover 2 side of the field, you got to have athletes, Lou. And then you talk about the linebacker on that side of the field. They now have to defend anything in that intermediate, short, and flat area to an extent.
That's a huge
They got to be able to be versatile and cover all of this ground. They definitely need multiple players to upgrade these looks. But hopefully through free agency in the draft, which I said on yesterday's show, Lou, would Vic Fangio challenge the principles of Howie Roseman to adjust what he wants to do at safety and linebacker? Frankly, he's going to have to. He is going to have to at this point.
Oh, yeah. If there's ever an offseason where Howie needs to change his philosophy just a little bit, it's going to be this one. We'll get into some potential safety and linebacker options that Fangio might need for this defense coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for, and with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that W. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Guys, want to let you know that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. So go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Vic Fangio, the new defensive coordinator for the Eagles in 2024, and Gino, we talked a lot about this scheme already on the show, and we highlighted the importance of two positions that Howie Roseman just, again, he's had some success with these spots in the past with, the likes of at safety, Malcolm Jenkins, Rodney McLeod, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson last year, a gem in Marcus Epps who developed very nicely before he cashed in with Vegas. You look at linebacker, Kazir White and TJ Edwards, Nigel Bradham in the past. Like Jordan Hicks is a good player in the NFL to this day. He's had some luck. It's not like these positions have always been terrible, but as we've said a lot on the show, he does not invest enough premier assets in those spots, whereas he makes it harder on himself. Like he has to nail a rookie free agent like a TJ Edwards, or he's got to bank on a CGJ being available in August. And I think in Fangio's defense, and again, it's not like they haven't been running similar stuff over the years, but now more than ever, it's so important to take one offseason to get those spots right. And they have a lot of work. Like you mentioned, I'm really excited about Sidney Brown in year 2 in this defense. But again, Reed Blankenship, Kevin Byard, like they're okay. But I don't know if they're Byard specifically is a good fit now in this scheme. I think they're okay starters, but I think you can really look to upgrade within these next few months.
I think athleticism and youth is something that they're going to have to absolutely
at corner
try
too, right? Because like you said, I mean, that one corner on the other side is going to be very important.
Oh, yeah. You talk about somebody that's going to have to being able to travel a majority of the field with one of the top players in football being on that cover 2 side of the field, where you're going to have to be responsible for carrying him vertical.
So
and
not
passing him off.
Right,
yeah. No, passing him off to the safety. That's not what James Bradbury does very well. No. And if you're going to target the linebacker position, this is a quote from the book of Fangio, Lou, from Sean Syed. He does great work on Twitter, and you can check out all his work. But this is a quote on linebackers. Stylistically, the linebackers are often kept clean from double teams by the defensive line, while also being asked to get depth in pass coverage. In pass coverage, having a linebacker that is athletic enough to play man coverage with faster running backs is an essential part of coverage flexibility, because these guys have to be able to track out to the flat. They have to get from that hash mark to the flat to defend some of these running backs in zone, defend them in man on these two-way goes. They don't have that player right now.
They don't. Sidney Brown has the potential to be that player, but again, that it's asking a lot coming into year 2 off of a torn ACL for him to be that guy off the jump. But, when you do look at the free agent group, at least, and potentially some trade options, and we'll get into draft prospects throughout the offseason, but this isn't a bad year to need a safety. Like, there are some legit free agents out there. You look at, Antoine Winfield Jr., Xavier McKinney, Geno Stone, Kyle Duggar, Jeremy Chin. Like, is there any names that you've thought of, at least early on in this pool, that would fit this defense the best? I mean, CGJ obviously isn't going to come back, although that would be great, but like an Antoine Winfield Jr., I mean, that would be perfect.
You talk about somebody who would be able to play that rangy backside. Yeah. I can hold my assignment. I'm very smart. Emphasis on being very smart in a cover 6 defense. There are so many variations of how you are going to rotate the coverage prior to the snap and post snap. We'll get into more of who exactly I would want to target, but going back to our discussions during the trade deadline of how I was saying you should look at those teams, the Denvers, the Chicagos, the Miamis, the Chargers, the teams that have ran those cover 6 principles, and try and pluck from those areas.
Can we poach a Justin Simmons or a Derwin James?
I think you threw out the idea of Derwin James, I think, on one of our Bleacher Report shows, and that one was like, oh boy, that makes so much sense. You talk about that true overhang can be both your free safety or your weak side strong safety, can do everything for you. And in cover 6, safeties have to be able to tackle. They have a responsibility to protect the run. That's why play action can really, really dice this type of defense up, because those safeties have to have their eyes to the backfield. They have to identify runs. So if they close on the run, that's where they can be susceptible to the backside pass. So you have to have guys that have that athleticism, that have that IQ, and have that versatility. And Derwin James, I think, fits that mold, Lou. That's exactly what you want. I mean, Justin Simmons played really well for Vic Fangio. You
Very
look at
well.
The Eddie Jacksons of the world who have had very good seasons for Vic Fangio and then have kind of fallen back to their average since then. And I'll be intrigued to see who he brings in positional coach-wise, to see if that's a major overhaul when it comes to the defensive back coaches, if he has some preferences in guys that he likes to teach those principles. But right now, target those teams that have had guys like the Brandon Staleys of the world that have ran that type of coverage, because it's going to make the transition that much easier. But for the draft, I think that's where you're going to be able to really kill it, because you look at 3 picks in the top 53, Lou.
Yeah. One of them has to be a corner, safety, or linebacker. If you do not come away with one of those picks being a second or third level player, I'm going to riot at this point. Like, every year I've been okay in understanding about it, but dude, if they take, imagine they take another center to replace Jason Kelce and they keep Cam Jurgens at right guard. I'm sorry, this is not the offseason where I'm going to be patient with that and understanding. This year you can't afford that.
I might be happier with Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon at center than you would, but no, I totally agree. Probably. Or, Lou, you take the approach where you trade one of those second-round picks maybe for one of those positions at linebacker.
Sure. If you do that too, then I'm fine with it. As long as you invest a premier asset, that doesn't have to be a draft pick. It can be a big contract towards a young player like an Antoine Winfield Jr. I'm not saying it's got to be a draft pick. Or it can be, hell, you do find a way to trade for Patrick Surtain, right? Or you try to get Justin Simmons or Derwin James. That'll work for me. You've got to try to not just find the bottom of the barrel, try to get by and value shop at these spots. You can't do it anymore.
No, not for the importance within this defense. And that's the thing that Howie has to get the best at, is get better at rather. How can he align his positional values with the importance of what the coach values within that team, and alter it year to year to where it isn't going to really change your process and the end result too much, but it might make you second guess some things, might make you put a little bit more weight on a linebacker selection, a little bit more weight on a safety selection, or trying to trade for, Roquan Smith is making all this money there in Baltimore. What would the cost on Patrick Queen be at the end of the day? I mean, those are...
Well, he's an unrestricted free agent this year.
Well, there you go. That's what I'm saying. What would the cost on Patrick Queen be? Would it be one of those contracts that you're talking about where you say, this is the guy, this is who we're going to mold the middle? Because you already have the front is set, right?
The front is. Like, a Jordan Davis is made for this kind of defense.
Yes, you anchor it around him.
Yeah.
Jalen Carter is going to be that other guy that's on the front with him. You can
Reddick and Sweat.
Stand-up linebackers, edge rushers, in and out of there on the edge.
Right.
It's the middle of the field which truly needs that captain, that guy that can control, know everything. You talk about the importance of a green dot signal caller in this defense, Lou. Why was it so rough a lot of the times last year? I mean, there was no continuity at that.
Oh, you didn't have that guy. Season. No. Gino, I'm curious what you think as somebody that I think has a better understanding schematically of this defense. When you look at, because I'm looking at some free agents too that we also talked about during the trade deadline, a Jeremy Chin type or a Kyle Duggar, more of a I don't want to say a box safety, but maybe more of a tweener that comes downhill more, because this defense is so predicated on taking up space. Like, does a player like that fit this scheme at all?
Oh, I would absolutely say so, because the thing with Kyle Duggar is, too, he presents the opportunity to go into some of those bigger dime look situations, those penny look situations, which are very Fangio
defensive back heavy look. Yeah, for sure.
You go 5 guys towards the line of scrimmage, not all linemen. It could be a mix of linebackers, so on and so forth. 1 true middle linebacker, and then those situations where you're still playing quarters and you have to be able to be versatile, but one of those guys who might be your will linebacker in one situation, that now could be your extra nickel type of player, your extra money type of player, as they call it. 100% those guys fit. If you have versatility, range, athleticism, and you're a smart football player, especially at the safety position, and if you could tackle as a safety, you can fit in the Fangio type of defense for sure.
It's going to be a really fun offseason. I think this is the perfect move to kind of push Howie Roseman towards what we're asking of him. So we'll see what happens. On the offensive side of the ball, though, Gino, we loved what Nick Sirianni had to say during his press conference about changing the offense up, getting new ideas implemented in 2024. But the coordinator options that we're hearing, it's not really backing that up, and we'll tell you why coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles.
Before we do that, we have a message from our friends over at FanDuel. It's the playoffs. The big game is right around the corner, and now is the best time to get in on the action over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, the official sportsbook here in 2024 for the entire Locked On Podcast Network. And right now, new customers get $150. Yes, 150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Regardless of the bet type, all you need is $5 and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. You can use those bonus bets to bet on live same game parlays. You can go and bet on player props. You can make your own parlays. You can quite literally do anything on FanDuel. We're on there every other day. It's bad, but it's great at the same time because it is the #1 and most fun sportsbook in all of America. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to make your first bet a layup. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Once again, FanDuel, the official partner of the Locked On Podcast Network and the NFL.
All right, Eagles fans, we're wrapping up this Thursday edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast, talking about the offensive coordinator position that's vacant now that Brian Johnson is out. And Gino, yesterday we said Nick Sirianni passed his first test at the podium. We loved that he said that the offense got stale at the end, and he needs to bring in some new voices from different offenses, whether it's in the NFL or bringing in some voices from college, switching things up for Jalen Hurts, for this young core. This nucleus is not going anywhere. If anyone's going anywhere, it's Nick Sirianni. So he needs to change things, and we loved in principle, in theory, what he was saying. However, when you look at the names that are being brought up, that are being interviewed for this position as the Eagles play caller, or Nick even mentioned on Wednesday, like running the offense, more so than he was more adamant earlier in the year about this is my offense and Brian Johnson calls the plays. During that press conference, it didn't really sound like the same tone. But then you hear they're interviewing Cliff Kingsbury, and today they requested to interview Kellen Moore. It's like you want fresh, new, innovative ideas, and you're bringing in these stale chips that have been sitting out for months. It's like, what are we doing here? I like the Gerard Johnson interview, but the rest of the names I've been like, no, thank you.
I understand why they are. I think, especially with Cliff, it was...
Rationalize with me, because I don't understand it.
They're collecting information, Lou. That's
screen passes for days if it's Cliff Kingsbury, man.
But I will say those ideas stink. They stink out loud. I mean, Kellen Moore, goodness gracious, you want to talk about just hog-tying Justin Herbert and not allowing him to play quarterback the way he should have. There you go. I mean, Mike McCarthy looks like a freaking genius in Dallas compared to what Kellen Moore did. And Cliff Kingsbury, it was a low bar to have, and he had the team in Arizona. Like that team was.
And in college, he had the quarterback with Patrick Mahomes. And what has he ever done for a quarterback in a positive way?
I don't know. I don't like either of those ideas. I like the direction, though. A younger mind, somebody who does have hopefully more new ideas. I think you went the correct route going with that older type of veteran coach on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Vic Fangio's been a head coach. He's going to be that level of stability. But this is where you take that chance, man. Like, you take that chance on a new up-and-coming name. I mean,
I agree.
Look at the Panthers today. Congrats to Canales getting the head coaching job there, the offensive coordinator out of Tampa Bay. You didn't even know who Dave Canales was probably 6 months ago. Everybody is taking chances on a young and up-and-coming mind. I really like the idea of Zach Robinson. I believe,
do too.
Run game is he pass game coordinator of the Rams?
I believe he's the pass game coordinator, yeah.
That's a name where it's like, okay, this guy's been around the Sean McVay tree. He's been around a lot of guys who have called big-time plays, who have compiled big-time playbooks. It just makes so much sense that you try and go down that tree. If we're going down trees here and we're staying within that tree, you stuck on the Fangio tree for defense, you got to get over to that McVay tree. You got to get over to the Shanahan tree somehow.
Like,
you are
somebody from
hanging on for dear life in this forest that's just dead trees. You need to get over this lush rainforest that just has this beautiful canopy. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. That's if you can poach somebody from LA, from San Francisco, from Miami, that's great. And again, I'm not married to that idea. If you bring in a Gerard Johnson, I'm actually really excited about that concept. If somebody had success with a young quarterback, but I like what you're saying is bring somebody out from,
bro.
Yeah,
Chip
like
Kelly.
No, dude. The funniest thing in NFL history would be if Howie Roseman brought Chip Kelly in as the offensive coordinator. But I just, again, like you mentioned Kellen Moore and Cliff Kingsbury, like they're younger and in theory you kind of understand it. But to me, the biggest red flag is Kellen Moore was seen as an up-and-coming young offensive coach for years. And normally, even if you have just mild success, normally you get a shot at being a head coach, right? And he's never gotten that opportunity. And we've seen Cliff Kingsbury, what he could do. And yes, you're not being the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, but you're the play caller. And to me, that's the most important person on the coaching staff potentially. So that's a huge responsibility that I don't want to give to one of those two guys.
I got a name for you.
Okay.
He's not younger, but he's also not older.
Yeah, ageism is not, I don't need them to be young. I just need them to be innovative.
How about Arthur Smith?
Interesting. I don't know. I don't like it.
Okay.
The dude couldn't use Bijan Robinson all year. I mean, no,
that's fair. That's fair. I'm just thinking more to the Tennessee days when he had a certain somebody.
Let me ask you one, because this is an older coach, but he's from the Shanahan tree. Brian Griese?
I mean,
I don't love the names that we're hearing so far.
In a play calling capacity,
yeah, probably not. No, that's
limited.
A fair point. Yeah, I take
He's
that
been
back.
more of your offensive, like assistant analyst, quarterback coach type of guy. I was just thinking Arthur Smith just because of the connection there with AJ. I'm just going down a little bit of a rabbit hole trying to throw out some of those ideas. We will get more, of course, as the weeks go on.
There's got to be more names. Like you said, Robinson. That's a name that we both really like that we haven't heard tied to Philadelphia yet. If I'm being completely honest, and again, I don't think the options we have are the only options, as you just mentioned, but the only name that I get kind of excited about is Gerard Johnson. Like, I kind of like the Jim Bob Cooter name, but the other ones I've heard so far, I don't know, not a fan, but they still have time. I don't think they're going to rush into it, and I don't think they rushed into defensive coordinator, but a name they really wanted and they wanted last year popped up. And if that happens again with offense, maybe they would do that. I just don't think there is a name they've been waiting on, so it's going to be more of a thorough process. So you'll probably hear, I don't know, Gino, it's still, would you imagine, it's not going to be this week.
From the sounds of what Nick wants, he really wants new ideas. And if he is going to see,
he's going to probably want to listen to everything,
pool,
right?
This is the first episode of The Bachelor, right? And
got to do your due diligence. Yeah.
You got to talk to everybody. There might be 24 people on that cast, and you got to talk to all of them and see who can even present a sliver of hope for you.
Right.
And then even dig in a little bit more. It's not just getting to know them. These interviews are tenuous. They are days long. They are multiple days long of like excruciatingly long hours of going through each and everything that you do. And Nick Sirianni has to do that. He cannot be held accountable for having his tail tucked between his legs once again and not overturning every single rock, because that's kind of what bit him the last time. Let's hope that he doesn't make that same decision twice. But if it's Kellen Moore or Cliff Kingsbury, best of luck somewhere else in 2025, Nick.
I won't be feeling great about that for sure. We'll keep you posted right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. Another show for you tomorrow. We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Guys, want to let you know again, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. So go to Locked On Sports today and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. We've got you covered with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. For Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase signing off. As always, thank you for downloading, thank you for watching and listening, and let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.